have already developed one extensive framework. Okay, so definitely we can integrate that framework with Ansible, and we can run through Ansible playbooks because it is possible to run like different scripts, or like even shell scripts can also be run. So as far as interoperability is concerned, that we can achieve using Ansible very easily. And even if we want to develop a separate, let's say, block of validation for CSI, so that thing is also achievable, as there is a lot of modules which we yet to explore. I think those things can also be done, like, but requires a little bit of time at our end to explore more into that.
Yeah. But Harsh, I will ask one very straight question here, correct? Last November, we had a meeting, Rajan Misra, who has a developed Ansible-based toolkit, which is really very complicated, correct?
Yeah,
He
yeah.
think that Ansible is not a good based tool. So why you think that, why we would go against his advice?
Actually, Sanjay, I had a discussion with Rajan only recently last week, and like, because I was facing some issues while executing my scripts. So on an initial level, he was able to help me a lot. And from the discussion, like, we came to this conclusion that it can be used for different sort of validations which we are looking for. So that actually convinced me that like, we can have this framework based on Ansible for our future validation work.
Because when we asked, he clearly advised don't use Ansible for test automation. Even they are not using it. And he
My
also their install toolkit and what we are doing validation is almost same. So okay, so just so with that it's over to you.
Yeah,
Right? You
yeah.
have
Actually,
that burden. You will have that burden to prove with all the experts that Ansible is not good, and you are
no, it's
correct.
not. Yeah,
I'm telling yes, I'm telling you very straightforward. So we doesn't spend weeks and weeks to do this thing.
yeah,
I'm not
Sanjay. So
expert in automation, so I will not get into which is good because that time first our option was Ansible. That's why we invited him.
okay, okay. Might be like, I don't know, might be it is his opinion or not, or like he has experienced some challenges in that. But even I also faced a lot of challenges while writing these basic scripts. But then we were able to resolve the issues to some extent. So today, like, whatever script that I will demo before you all, so I hope it will get we all will get a fair idea, like, whether to go with this approach or not, and with whether like it is like a challenging task, or is it easy to use. So like, for that purpose, I have created few demo scripts. And one challenge that I got was with the putting assertions in the Ansible playbooks. But later, when I explored that for a day or two, so I was able to resolve those issues also. And still, some of the things are yet to be explored, as told by Pratibha. So due to shortage of time, I could not able to explore JQ module or other JSON parsing modules, because that requires a little bit of time. So if you people are okay with today's demo and like convinced enough with this, then definitely we can explore those things as well. I hope I have answered your query, Sanjay.
I think I'm fine, right? I mean, I'm fine whatsoever you have done, right? And I really appreciate that, right? The
Thank
only
you.
challenge, right, Harsh, I see, right? I mean, we should first try to see, like Sanjay said, right? We don't have much, time or runway, right? That
Exactly.
we will accept the excuse at the last moment, right? The reason is that we could accept the excuse last year, but this
Yeah.
year, at a high level, we are red because of the automation. We don't have, and I'm little clear, right? Because me and Sanjay are facing that challenge at the high level, right?
Sure.
Like,
Sure.
just because we don't have CNSA automation, we are red, right?
Yeah.
And now, if we will give any excuse, right?
Yeah.
Maybe, for example, after 2 months, right? We all will be, cut off, right? I mean, just
No,
think
no,
from that angle, right?
I do understand your point, Abhishek. In fact, the approach which we chose right now is because actually, even suppose there are few things if we come across in near future that it is not possible using Ansible module, or it is not in the realm of a Kubernetes client or something like that. So definitely, we have our last resort, which is Python and Shell, which is always there for us, and we can.
No, so but right. I agree with your point. But
Yeah.
do you consider that we would be able to recreate the whole stuff you are doing right now in Python, Go, or any other language if required?
Yeah, for no, no,
Accept
we do
that.
not we do not need to rewrite everything. It is something like, suppose tomorrow some particular, let's say, I don't know, I'm not still aware about such a situation, but I'm just assuming. Suppose there is some particular thing which requires a typical module and it is not available within the Ansible realm. So definitely we can like code that into Python or Shell, as we are already doing it, and even you are also doing it in your CSI automation tool. So and we can call that thing from our Ansible playbook. That is very much achievable. But that is, the
Okay.
chances are very low, as far as, because like, I have gone through some of the modules, and like, there are pretty much like close around 800 modules available. So I don't think there will be any chance that it should happen, by the way. Rest, actually, it also depends upon experience, like how much we can spend on it. So I think Nilesh and like, has also worked upon Ansible, so like, he must be having a better picture about it, probably.
Not really. Actually, I haven't worked on the Ansible automation, but that was with the Python plus Shell plus robot automation. So that I did for the cloud solution.
Okay.
But yeah, but let's have your demo first, and then maybe we will have some query because I have few queries on that. But let's
Sure.
do demo first.
Okay, fine. So, fine. So this is the INF node of my OCP cluster where I have created this folder, and within this folder I have many playbooks. So some of them are like due to exploration I was creating. For the demo purpose, I have created this demo 1, demo 2, and so on. So let me just showcase the scripts. So this particular playbook is basically we are trying to connect to the worker pods on our OpenShift platform, and we are trying to fetch the states of the pod. The command is -get-state-a, and we are using a loop condition here. So for the demo purpose, I have used it. I could have directly executed this command as well, but just for the demo, I have created a loop also. So we can execute n number of commands in this way, but I have executed only single command because that is of my intent actually. And this is the variable where the result will be stored. And this particular module, which is the debug module, will help us to output the result on the console. And here we can see that I have provided some assertions. So I have tested for different types, like we can provide assertions. So we can provide and condition also, or we can straightforwardly provide this sort of a string, and then we can match it in the results out. So on the basis of the assertion, all these assertions are in and condition. So when all of them get satisfied, then only our test case get passed, otherwise it will get failed. So for that, I've already written a condition here. So let me execute the script.
And this is one test case, right?
Yeah, this is one test case, but we can combine a lot of cases in a single playbook actually. Just for the sake of simplicity, I have kept it as a single command-based test case.
Okay.
Yeah, Abhishek, the thing is, as we were targeting and thinking of to whether we can prove or show like basic condition, like some of the commands or OC commands get works or not based. That is the most important part of the validation as such, which we are trying to achieve. So basically we started like this. If these type of things are requirement satisfied by like these one single test case, then we do have so many similar to other languages. Even Ansible has so many techniques or ways to combine the test cases, or choosing of the thing, or to select a particular test case, or do repetitive times of test case. So these many things still are in further goals, so we can achieve in the same way. So that's why we created different small playbooks, so that we can show like we can do, still we have option with Ansible.
Yeah. So like here we have this first playbook, and there are different tasks that I have created inside. Let me open a separate console so it will be easy to understand.
And you are running from the system where the OCP cluster is installed, right?
Yeah. I'm on my INF node right now, infra node. Okay.
And I think Nilesh, as far as my understanding says, right? For example, I want to create a CNSA cluster on AWS or GCP or any cloud, right? So and what is the best way of running the automation there? I mean, do we need to run it from Bastion node? Do we need to run from worker node, or how it is? Because I think
no, so the you can run from the any system. So only we need your credentials. So right now we have automation where we are installing OCP cluster. We call that Aero cluster on Azure, and then after that we are installing CNSA. So in order to run that automation, we can run from the any system where the Python 3 is installed, and then it just call the APIs to first create a Aero cluster, and after that install CNSA.
So
What I know that for OCP, correct, if only OC commands, we are not doing any SSH, then we can basically use, we can get that login token, correct, and we can have OC in anywhere. And if we can get into that, what is called worker node, or correct, we can just, not worker node, basically OCP cluster API, we can run from anywhere. So most of the developer they use, they run even opera, they use from their own laptop basically all OC commands.
Yeah,
And
so we have to just install that OC client. Yeah,
Yeah.
OC client required, and then OC login, and then the Kubernetes username password, and that should work.
No, in fact, here there are 2 points, right? What Abhishek was asking, where you install from, right? And what Sanjay is talking about after the installation. So to answer this question, in fact, both can be done from any machine. Because while installation, we use Terraform, which can also run from any machine. And internally, Terraform also do the SSH and all. So you just require where you want to install. If you provide that information, then it will install that Azure cluster from any machine. And once the installation is done, you get the credential. So as far as you have the OC client, you can just log into your OCP cluster and you can run anything from any machine on that cluster.
And I think similar thing we do on Fire also, like when we create OCP cluster and like we are logging into the INF node, and from there only we are executing things on other nodes, right?
Yeah.
So I think
So mostly on Fire you will get infra node, but if you see on Azure you won't get infra node.
okay. Okay.
Yeah,
So no,
it's
it's not
only
required.
it's a-
That's what Harsh.
yeah, it's
that's
not
what I was
it's not
talking
required. Yeah.
And that's why I think my point was that only, right? So for example, consider that infra node is not available, right? And you are not allowed to even log into the worker nodes uh, or master nodes, right?
Yeah, you just need to have the OC client and then just give the pass on.
I understand Chandran, that part, but consider the case that we are not allowed, or we don't want actually, because see, OCP concept is that you shouldn't log into the worker nodes and master node, right?
Yeah.
So what you are saying is we should have test under a test driver, correct? So we can have one test driver. From there, we will be running tests from. That's what you are saying. We'll be running tests from multiple CNSA OCP cluster. That's what your point is. How we'll invoke tests, and that will point to different OCP clusters.
So that is also possible.
Yeah.
So that is also possible. We can have a different group of nodes, and that we can mention in the inventory file of the Ansible. And from a single node, we can execute our test cases on different clusters installed on different platforms. Because Ansible is like supported on almost all platforms, whether it is GCP or Amazon. They have a very good collections. Like I want to show you. So this is the Galaxy server of the Ansible, and here we have a Kubernetes core modules, as you can see. So they are supporting Helm and all the other things. And similarly, we have a platform type kind of thing also. Uh, I had stored that link. Pratibha, I have pinged you that link, I think last week, where it was showing a lot of other. Can you
Yes.
just?
Let me check quickly. Yeah. Further, you can continue with your points. Meanwhile, I'll
Okay.
search and paste it in our chat.
Okay, sure. So this was my first script which I have executed. So just want to explain how it is getting executed. So this was my first task that was connect to the worker pod and pod state. So here I'm using this Kubernetes core K8s exec module, and these are the parameters which we need to provide. And once these parameters are provided, then these commands get executed, whatever we have written. And that is why we can see that we are getting. So we can provide this is a gathering facts thing. It is a default kind of task. We want, if we want, we can like disable it also. But for now, I have not disabled it yet. And here, whatever command that gets executed successfully comes into yellow color. And then here is the output in the form of JSON objects. So there are different things which we can assert, like the change parameter should be true. We can provide assertion for this as well. But mainly, I have used assertion to validate the standard output, and this is the standard output, and this is the standard output in the form of JSON objects. So I have used my validation on this particular parameter, which is a standard output, and on the basis of that validation, this particular test case has got passed, and my assertion looks like something like this. So it is asserting that all the worker nodes are in active states, and I have used this, we say it a kind of a format for accessing a JSON object from the output. So we are using command output because I have stored the result in the command output variable, and using dot notation, I'm trying to parse the JSON result. So result 0 I have used because actually, if I can, here we have only single array object in this particular JSON array, and that is why I'm referring to that object using results 0, as you can see. And then after that, I'm trying to fetch the std out parameter. So here we have this standard out parameter which is in the form of a string. So this is a complete string output in the string format. So this is what I am trying to validate using this assertion. Now the challenge here which is coming up was like we can format this particular output using some of the Ansible modules, but that I have not been able to do because I need to explore that part. But as far as validation is concerned, it is working fine. And here is the result of this first script. So let me show.
I have one question here.
Yeah.
Not for MMK, this will happen on pod running state. Because generally in Openshift, correct, it is a challenge for all other test frameworks, so not only Ansible. But desired state, MM state, if we have a restart pod, correct, one pod may be down for a long period of time,
Yeah.
and it will take some time to come up. So how it will work here in that case?
So yeah, there is a programming, like there is an Ansible construct for waiting condition. So that we can apply here, and then we can wait for the pod condition to be active, and so that we can provide. But actually, I have not used that construct because we have only developed simple scripts right now.
Well, that is fine. But if say, we know we cannot wait forever, so we can say that if it is not done in next 5 minutes or next 10
Yeah,
minutes, it is wait.
That is feasible, Sanjay. That is feasible. There are few conditional blocks that we can put. So let me move with another scenario. So this script is also similar to the previous one. Only the thing is here I am just trying to run mmls cluster command and trying to assert the name of the cluster and the cluster ID parameter in the standard output. So the script is totally same. Only the command is different and corresponding assertion. So let me run it.
So
And
for example,
also,
if I take this test case, right,
Yeah.
and I want to run it on my cluster, right, then
Yeah.
do I need to change the assertions every time?
no,
Yeah,
no,
you
no.
don't have to change anything.
Okay, Harsh, go ahead. Yeah.
Yeah. So basically, I have provided one inventory file here. And this is the one. Let me show you. So here I have provided a group test, and inside that I have written the host name of my node. So similar fashion, you can provide your host name, and then the same playbook will be run on your cluster also, provided your network is like allowing it to do that.
I think my question was different, right? I was asking, like, say for example, cluster ID, right?
Yeah.
And you written that cluster ID in the assertion, right? So
Okay. Yeah.
in my case, cluster ID would be different, right?
Yeah, exactly. In that way, we can like what we can do is we can provide a variable, like we can have some properties file, and from there we can provide a condition that for this particular cluster, this will be the cluster ID. So that sort of assertions we can provide. But definitely, this is just a like simple playbook. Here we have not done that kind of work actually.
No,
Yeah.
So you should write in the property file, but one has to populate that, right? Or it get populated automatically.
We can populate it somehow. I have not explored that yet, but yeah, there could be some way to do that. It's not a issue. But as of now, I have hard coded my cluster ID.
Because see, we don't want anything to be hard coded, right? And second thing, we don't want user. See, what are the expectation should be like, because as CNS is growing, there are multiple factors coming in. For example, in case of cloud, there would be some other factors. In case of CSI, there would be some other factors, HPO, stress cluster, whatsoever, right? Now every parameter will have its own its own values, right? Say for example, in terms of cluster, right? Cluster ID will be different than cluster name, then file system name, then remote cluster name, right? All these kind of stuff. Then when it comes
But
to
yeah, I do understand, Abhishek, but the reference data somehow there should be some reference data with which we want to compare, or even if we want to like fetch that at runtime. So I think that is possible, but we have not tried yet because
But
we were just writing some basic playbooks with the intent to run command and OC command first. So that is the
One-
next step we can explore definitely.
one thing, this is we cannot basically. There's no way we can match cluster ID, correct? Because cluster ID is a unique on every cluster. So
Yeah, this is just a simple
case
assertion.
is different that whatever we get MMS cluster ID, is it same cluster ID is used in a basically sorry in a
In the,
CSI operator CR, it's same cluster. So we have to compare and do it. Correct, Abhishek? Number one. And second thing, we are doing MM command. We should not be using any MM command as long as possible. We should be using only REST API for any automation. Correct? These are just comment for not Ansible. Only if we doesn't have REST API, we will be using MM command.
Okay.
Because most of our stuff is REST API based.
Sure. So, Sanjay, there is a URI module in Ansible from where we can call web services also or REST APIs also by providing parameters.
I know
But
if GUI is down, then we will require MM command, but that should be that last case, or only if it is required. Otherwise, we should be using only REST API.
yeah, so let me.
No, that's fine. I'm not saying I know it
Okay,
could be
okay.
there. I'm just saying when we develop a test case, correct? Any
Yeah,
test
yeah,
case in future, in any language, so we want to
definitely.
use REST API.
Yeah, I understand your point. Like
Yes,
we
Sanjay.
should.
So,
Yeah, please.
yes, Sanjay. So one question. So actually, Julian has already done some CNS automation through robot, right? And then I'm not sure the what kind of validation he's doing, but we can reuse and then if required, we can modify accordingly. Because I know that in order to run robot, we have to install additional robot library. But apart from that, we don't have to do any additional stuff, right?
I would not like to go to robot because the ultimate our goal is correct. I think we'll discuss later. Only one rental. Our goal is we should run automation should run without Jenkins or that we have a goal of certification test suite.
Yeah, totally agree.
So
But
we can give it to anyone. So we doesn't want to be our test bucket should be running independent of any test framework like Jenkins or anything. We launch it and it's able to run.
Yeah, totally agree. So in order to run robot, we don't need Jenkins at all. We have to just install that library. We need profile file, and then we have to run that specific robot file. That's it.
Yes, I've not thought of it actually. That we
Yes.
need to think. But my point is, we have to do always any. See what is going to happen in future. This will become a test certification test suite, and if we just install on any cluster, it will run test suite and we will say test. It has been deployed correctly. In future, we may run IO tests and performance tests and that kind of stuff, correct? It should be self-contained, canned. Canned is not correct number. Self-contained test suite. We can just download some container image, and from container image, we can just run it, all the tests, without configuring anything.
Yeah, that's what actually. So for cloud solution, we did the same thing. We just created container image for AWS, IBM Cloud, and inside container, we were running just our automation.
Yes.
Because what I'm thinking, because at the end we have to display that result as well. So
Yes.
I'm and maybe let me just share my script for a time.
One let me first complete. Let us complete this demo right now. Then
Yeah,
we can
sure,
discuss
sure.
how to basically how to basically launch it. Correct. That is another question.
Yeah, sure.
Let's discuss
Yeah,
later. We can have another. Yeah. Yes. Yes.
Yeah,
yeah,
sure.
maybe.
So, this was one script that I've shown recently, and definitely I have taken your point, Abhishek. We can explore how to find the data at runtime and validate it with respect to some reference data value, and even we can also compare the data points between two different outputs, from the console to the YML file, as Sanjay is saying. So that I think is possible, and we can write some test case around it using Ansible for sure. So meanwhile, some other scripts that we have written. So this is another one. So here we are just trying to call some external shell script using our Ansible module, and the result of that shell script will be stored in this file. So this is the only thing we need to write, not much coding and all. And let me execute this. So the shell script is this one, and it is simply executing one basic command, OC worker 0, sorry, yeah, and MMLS cluster. These things it is executing. So let me run it. So here it will create a txt file, and in that txt file it will fetch the output. So this is one use case that we explored. Another one is here we are trying to basically connect to the worker pod, and we are trying to write a file. So I was trying this particular module, but later I came with some challenges while writing, while performing the write operation. So I found that directly this command was not working with Ansible, and for this we have a Ansible module to append the content to a file. So later I explored that part, and sorry, let me show you. Yeah. So here, again, we are trying to connect to the worker pod using Kubernetes client, and it is creating a directory by the name of test28. I've just taken it as a dummy, and it is creating inside the worker 0 pod, and then it is displaying the output. After that, I have tried creating a text file inside that directory and also writing a sample content inside that. So this output will be displayed using this variable. And then toward the end of the test case, I have to clean up the file. So I have again used this module and did this basic shell script kind of thing. And if I execute this script, so it is performing different tasks. So here the test case got executed completely. So right from the creation of file to deleting it and appending content to the file, all those things are we can easily see in the output of each task. And if we want, we can assert that also, as I did previously. But here in this particular playbook, I did not provide any assertion as such. So this was just for the demo purpose that we can read and write a simple text file or any other file inside a worker pod. So on a similar.
What happened in between if file write fails? What would happen?
So
right before that, it write to RSH or RSH to pod, it cannot RSH.
Yeah, so Sanjay, here, as you can see, there are a few parameters like failed, escaped. So it will be show up in this particular kind of response we will get, and then we can further debug using the logs messages here. Like whichever line which gets failed will be marked as red in color, and then we can further debug that at the runtime. So debugging is also quite straightforward.
Okay.
And the plus point is that it will give a very clean way to at each and every step it is giving us a console output, so we can easily debug rather than explicitly using some debug command and all. So we can directly see in the response.